We're here in the Nebraska Public Media Studio. I'm Michael Severe with Sean Callahan to talk more about the effects of the House versus the NCAA settlement, what's going to be recruiting and the program overall. Literally 5 minutes ago, it could have changed while we were in here. But every time we look up, but the big thing people want to know about is roster limits. It looks like we won't see those at least for a few years.
Right. The judge in California, Claudia Wilkins, who's overseeing this matter, she put out her thoughts on things that she's okay with everything other than the roster limits, which you're essentially going to move out players that signed something that said different. If your son signed to play at a school, this wasn't part of what they signed up for, where they could be cut out because of roster limits. So that is kind of where things are at right now. They've got to figure out a compromise that the judge is on board with, as far as what the roster limits are. Now, Troy Dannen told Steve Sipple from Husker Online this weekend that he does not want a roster limit. He would like to see everything just be, let programs operate how they want.
Yeah.
He's not optimistic they're going to go that direction.
Yeah.
But at minimum, I think you're going to see a grandfathering. But it's a little too late. I mean, there's a lot of athletes that have already made their plans.
Sure.
But maybe if they allow the grandfathering, some of these kids could come back to Nebraska. Because the main thing you worry about is academics, too. I mean, you're going to disrupt a guy's academic future because of a roster limit they had no control over. And I think that's where Judge Wilkins kind of sits on this issue, where she didn't agree with putting these hard limits immediately into the game in all sports.
Yeah, the great thing about her is she's also getting ready to retire. This is her last thing she's doing. She's going to make sure it's right. Let's talk about how the $600 limit in terms of NIL and how that works with the clearinghouse and that kind of thing.
So right now, teams will get $20.5 million in-house, which is the revenue share money. And it's not NIL. It's the television money. It's the media rights money that's going to be given as a percentage to the athletes. And the first year is $20.5 million. Football is going to get around $15 million of that $20.5 million.
Right.
So that's where a guy like Pat Stewart, the new general manager, he's got to manage that money and the cap, how they want to pay that out, have limits for each position room and what they want to do with it. But then the real interesting part will be the NIL piece, because any deal that goes through over $600 has to be approved by a clearinghouse. And that's where schools like, I think, in Nebraska or in Ohio State that have passionate business owner boosters are going to get creative, and they're going to come up with, like you're going to go to major companies in the state that are supporters of the university, and they're going to say, all right, we're going to put together 3 or 4 or 5 major 6-figure NIL opportunities, and this company's going to do that. And that to me will be a separator at a place like Nebraska, because you will be able, I think, to create some pretty big opportunities that will pass through this clearinghouse.
But how do you judge fair market value? When the clearinghouse is looking at them, how do you judge that that's a fair market for that particular person?
That's the gray area, right? But so I don't know if it's going to be the cost of doing business or what somebody's willing to pay, because that's really hard to cap.
Right.
Right? So depending on what you assign somebody's value to, a business may seem like an excessive number.
Yeah.
But to that business, when you want to talk about their value or fair market value or their worth, which sometimes it's different between worth and value.
Definitely.
We use them interchangeably, but they're two completely different concepts. That will be hard to substantiate.
Yeah, they look at a guy like Heinrich Haarberg, they don't understand what he means to the state as being a former quarterback from the state. People like him. Why is this second
He has
string?
a tremendous, how do you put a value on Q rating?
Yeah, exactly, yeah. Everybody knows him.
It's an imperfect science, and we're all kind of working through that right now. Like you said, information changes by the minute, by the second. If someone gets offered X and they go by, oh, nope, it's less than this, because we looked at other guys in your situation comparable to what they got at other schools. Plus, I'm guessing social media and all this stuff getting thrown in the mix and stuff like
Followers
that.
And stuff
like that. So, and they come back and say, no, you're going to get 500. You wanted 500, but now you're only going to get, your fair market value is 3.
It's arbitration.
Right. It's
Baseball
just
arbitration.
But it's not. Yeah. And
it's less than 20 athletes that we're talking about that are probably going to be in this category, and that's what you have to figure out. Who are those 15 or 20 athletes that are going to get this additional opportunity based on what their value is?
The interesting thing about that too, because I think it gets overlooked because we take it for granted. I think one of the things you have to talk about with a guy like Coach Rule and Coach Dannen are they don't do a lot of complaining. They don't talk about the challenges. They talk about evolving and staying ahead of what's going on.
Yep.
Coach Rule has to be one of the most malleable guys that I have seen operate under this kind of lawless. It's not lawlessness. I don't want to be melodramatic, but when things are so fluid and changing, he just appears to be a guy that's like, okay, there's no sense in belly aching. We have a real good team we've put together. Let's just do our best to stay ahead of the game. Like I don't think he gets near enough credit for being as flexible as he's been. A lot lesser folks would have thrown their hands up.
It might be why a lot of some older coaches decided, I don't want to be a
100%.
reliable guy. I'm getting out of here.
100%.
Let's talk about the survey question that we have, which comes from the portal. Which player do you look forward to checking out the most and seeing them play? We have 31% for Deshaun McCullough. That's kind of surprising. Dan Key at 24%. I figured it'd be a skill player, and Elijah Pritchett at 24%. A little surprised by that.
Wait a minute, Pritchett is to 31%.
Oh, it is Pritchett? Okay.
Even I can see that.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I got to count down. Oh, yeah, because McCullough's 4%. Sorry about that.
It's like a seeing eye test, though.
It is. Like, I can see it, but I couldn't figure out the lines. There's too many names.
Well, I can't read.
I'm going to go with Spindler. That's the guy I'm looking forward to watching. Let's talk about the draft. Coming into the season, I thought that maybe 11 different guys had a chance, right, to get drafted. Then I narrowed it down to about 7. 2 of those guys came back. 1 guy transferred. Only 2 guys get drafted. Were you surprised?
Not a ton. I thought Ty would have maybe gone earlier.
Great fit, though.
Oh my gosh.
He's like blessed to go to a place like that. Blessed. He's blessed.
I mean, teed up perfectly for his skill set and what he's done to play. You talking 5 technique to inside all the way to. I mean, he's going to be put in.
You make the case Philly's the best defensive line in the league.
Yeah.
And they're young, and they're just obviously the success they've had.
Yeah.
You learn from. Heck, half the Georgia football team that's there.
That is true.
Amongst the linebacker and D-line. But that's, I mean, when they said Philadelphia, I have a good friend in Philly, and he texted me within 5 minutes. He's like, what are we going to get? I'm like, listen, you're getting a great player who can play multiple spots, and you're going to love him. He's going to fit perfectly with the Eagles. That huge get for them.
It's a good. What do you think?
It's the wrong team in the Keystone State as a Steelers guy, but Philadelphia's been good in Nebraska.
Yeah.
I mean, you go all the way back to Stu Bradley.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
One of the most underappreciated great players that stepped foot on this campus.
Yeah.
Philly's got a thing for Nebraska guys. I like it.
Yeah, Philly, Tampa do a lot too, obviously because of who they have there, their GM spot.
Yeah, I was gonna say a lot of front office guys at both those places.
Yeah. I know you were talking about one of the undrafted free agents you're looking for, John Bullock. You think that he's got a shot?
Right there with you.
You know, John Bullock was, played through a lot of pain this year.
Yep.
And he was finally fully healthy at the pro day and everything, and he ran really well. I don't know what his exact times were, but I know his numbers were off the charts, enough to get the immediate undrafted free agent opportunity. And what that means, correct me if I'm wrong, is you get an invite into the training camp. Like you're on the roster for training camp, which is all you can ask for. I mean, you got a chance to be in the organization through the offseason, and you'll be in the camp in August.
Yeah, Bullock and Ben Scott, both Tampa, got picked up. Isaiah Nair, 49ers, Isaac Gifford, Cardinals. You mentioned. What do you think about Fredoni's fit?
I like it. So here's the thing, and I've said this from day one, just watching him in high school and my affinity for his competitiveness. If he's healthy, his competitive stamina would be hard to match. You talk about somebody that will just show up every day and enjoys competing. He will show up every single day. He's a hard guy to get rid of because he's not going anywhere. You have to kick him out the door.
Yeah, and then a great match, Nash going to the Ravens, getting picked up by undrafted free agent.
Again,
Kinda
another
just
guy
fits.
that's good with D-line.
Yeah. That's good there. That's nice matching up. Now, I know this is a long way off, but do you feel, because it's been since 2011 since they had a first rounder, 2011 since they had more than 4 guys. Do you think this next year, this 2026, is one where you could start seeing Nebraska looking like a team that has a bunch of draft picks?
Yeah, you'll have more than 2.
Yeah. Because Spindler and Pritchard, those are the guys you're throwing out there?
100%.
McCullough.
McCullough.
I hope. I do.
I mean, he's at least gonna be on a lot of radars.
A guy we're sleeping on because for whatever the reason, we didn't love the way he played last year. Deshaun Singleton is going to be a very good tester.
Yes, yeah. And walking across the stage.
He's going to be a very good tester.
Dane Key.
He stays healthy.
Think he's certainly a possibility, yeah. You never know with the transfer wide receivers. He's got to be productive, obviously, because I thought both Nair and Banks, if they had productive seasons, maybe could sneak in the 7th round. But
And shame on me for not paying better attention to the wide receivers, because I can't even really speak to his explosiveness in and out of breaks. I just know, and I think I mumbled to you, I said, God, that guy's always open. You know, so it's like,
Yeah.
I don't know what exactly I'm going to be enamored with his skill sets,
Yeah.
because I haven't dialed in, but he catches a lot of balls.
there's no metric stat more important now. NFL is distance between you and the defender. Like how many yards or you're from that defender. If you can do that, you're going to sign
Separation,
a contract.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Separation. You can do that. Yeah.
Yeah, getting in and out
Did
of
you guys
breaks.
see Pritchett was also on a first-round projection board this week, which those are always dangerous.
He
very
is
early,
a
yeah.
massive individual.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, he's got to clean up a lot from Alabama.
I mean, it was very awkward to get the mic close to him. He's a giant human being.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Let's do burning questions. Sean?
God, this is a good one. My burning question is, what will this summer, what will this offseason bring as far as the expectation level for this team? I think Coach Rule's done a very good job of kind of trying to keep a lid on things with the lack of access to seeing his team. And I think he wants a very controlled, kind of calm summer. But there's going to be a lot of hype going out to Arrowhead Stadium.
Burning question.
What will the evolution of the defensive line look like? We know what we think the benchmark is, but they may have more capable players this year, but can they handle the rigor and the production of what last year's team did? What will be asked of this year's D-line relative to the defense?
Jay?
We spent talking about all position groups, and one of his biggest fans. Was so happy he came back here, but the addition of Mike Eckler to special teams.
Good call.
We didn't touch base on that, but his ability to bring the energy, not only the special teams, but just the staff and the team in general.
Yeah.
Got a chance to chat with him after practice.
Yeah.
I was not part of the team when he was coaching, but I
Yeah.
was still playing him back around the program.
Yeah.
Love his energy, love his enthusiasm. He's going to be a difference maker, not only in special teams, but his ability that juice and that energy with that team.
Yeah.
It's going to be something special.
He spoke at the Jet Award Gala and said, trust me, we'll have somebody back here next year. And I think he means that, no doubt. My burning question is, how am I going to survive? How am I going to make it to the last week of August without any football? I don't know. I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I'm going to do my best.